What's up, guys? So I just wanted to talk about my experience using the conjugate method and the other Westside Barbell training methods for football. So Westside Barbell was a gym that was made by Louis Simmons, and his training methods helped Westside Barbell and himself break a lot of powerlifting records. And now pretty much every powerlifter knows about Westside Barbell. You can find out more about this in the documentary Westside vs. the World, which I highly recommend checking out. It was a really interesting documentary. But what made me really interested in Westside Barbell was the fact that he was training a lot of NFL players, MMA fighters, and track and field athletes, and just a lot of athletes in general. And when I looked more into it, he was making a big difference in these athletes' careers. So after I found that out, I spent a lot of time studying his methods. So I learned about Westside Barbell at the start of quarantine, so pretty much throughout the whole quarantine and a year after that when I was playing junior college football, I was just constantly studying the Westside Barbell training methods. Like, I got a lot of the books, a lot of the seminars. I even subscribed to the Conjugate Club where you get access to everything. And yeah, I just learned as much as possible. I even emailed Louis Simmons and he's answered a couple questions, which I'll probably go over in a different video. And for the 2 years I was playing junior college football, I used a lot of the Westside Barbell training methods. So during all my off seasons for football, I'll do the typical 4-day conjugate method where I'll do the max effort lower, max effort upper, dynamic effort lower, dynamic effort upper. Yeah, I was making sure I max out on the different exercises each max out day, like whether it's a box squat at different heights or box squats with band tension on it or deadlifts. And then for the dynamic effort days, I was doing a dynamic effort squat or a dynamic effort bench press, and I was doing it very consistently. Then another thing Louis Simmons talked about was a lot of sled exercises. So I built a sled from a tire from like a DIY project. I actually made the tire a little bit different with the help of my dad, so maybe I'll do a DIY project to make your own tire sled. One big tip is using a toe strap around your waist instead of a piece of rope like I did, so it doesn't destroy your waist. And I'll do the accessory lifts Louis Simmons would recommend, and I'll work out my triceps like crazy because that's what Louis Simmons said was a key to a big bench press. And then once in a while I'd even go to like certain gyms just so I could use like specific equipment Westside Barbell made, like the Nordic curl, the assisted Nordic curl, the belt squat, and the reverse hyper especially. I'd always try to use a reverse hyper every time I was in the gym that had one, just because I had some lower back pain during football and I had like a couple back injuries when I was playing football, so yeah, I'd always make sure I'd use a reverse hyper. Another big thing I started doing once I learned about Westside Barbell was concentric lifts. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just like doing it from a dead stop, but the bar is out of dead stop. You're not on the box. Like, I'll put a video up just so you see. But yeah, I'll do a lot of those too after hearing about them. And Louis Simmons also talked about working out your neck if you're a football player. So I got a neck harness and started working out my neck a lot more. If you haven't seen my video of no equipment neck exercise, I highly recommend checking that out. I actually preferred those exercises to the neck harness exercises. A big thing Louis Simmons always talked about was just mixing up your exercise that you do. So I made sure to mix up my exercises every time I went to the gym. But yeah, I just spent a lot of time doing the exercise Louis Simmons recommended, and I feel like it helped a lot. So after doing all these exercises and workouts, I did get significantly stronger and more athletic. I even got an award for being the strongest pound for pound player on the team, which is where they took the amount of weight I could lift divided by my body weight. And I just saw that there's a noticeable difference in how high I could jump and how fast I was. Like, for example, I was the 5th fastest player when they measured my 10-yard dash. I didn't have the best 40-yard dash though, just because, I was just never really good at the 40-yard dash. But my 10-yard dash did get really good. But yeah, and also all my lifts went up a significant amount, not just my bench, squat, and hang clean and deadlift. I'm talking about my accessory lifts too. Like, by the time I finished junior college, I was benching 85-pound dumbbells with ease. So yeah, it made me very strong and very athletic. So even though that was all great, I still think it would have been a little bit better if I was focusing a tiny bit more on football skills and a tiny bit less on strength and power. During my time playing football in junior college, I didn't really get the most playing time, and I feel like that would have been different if I spent more time, doing field work and one-on-ones and focusing on my technique. Of course I still did, but I feel like it would have been better if I put a little bit less time in the gym and a little bit more time on the field. Because let's say there was a day where practice was canceled or we had a day off, like on a weekend. Most days I would always go to the gym and only sometimes go to the field with my teammates or go to the field with myself and just practice my technique. I think it would have been better if the majority of the time I went to the field and only sometimes went to the gym. I feel like if I did that, I would have maybe got a little bit more playing time in college and just was a lot more productive as a cornerback. Of course, this would be different if I was a lineman. Strength matters a lot more as a lineman than it does for skill players like quarterbacks, receivers, and defensive backs. Of course, strength and power still matters a lot in football for defensive backs, Like, you can't be weak or not powerful if you're playing football. But I still think I should have spent more time on the field than in the weight room. So if I could go back in time and I want to be a better defensive back, this is what I'd do differently. In the off season, I'd have done a 3-day conjugate instead of a 4-day conjugate. A 4-day-a-week conjugate is where you do a max effort lower, max effort upper, dynamic effort lower, dynamic effort upper, all on different days. What I would have done is a 3-day conjugate where you do your max effort lower, your max effort upper, and then you would do both of your dynamic days on the last day. So you would do dynamic effort lower and dynamic effort upper on the same day. And maybe even some weeks I would have done a 2-day conjugate where you would do your max effort lower and your dynamic effort upper on one day, and then your max effort upper and dynamic effort lower on the other day. Another thing I would have done is prioritize my skills training. Before, if I was doing 2 workouts, I'll do my weight room session first and my field work after, because like in my head I was like, I want to be fresh for my weight training session. What I could do if I could go back in time is I'll do my skills training first, so I'm nice and fresh for that, and I could like get the most out of it, and then do my weight training after. Like, I might be a little bit sore or a little bit tired, but I still would have got a really good workout in, and I would have prioritized my skills training, which in my opinion is more important if you're a skill player, which is basically anything that's not lineman. One thing I still would have done is all the accessory lifts Westside Barbell talks about. I think that really helped a lot. Like, I think the accessory lifts Westside Barbell suggests is the best possible accessory lifts you could do, in my opinion. And I'm really glad I did it, and I'm really glad I still read everything I did about Westside Barbell, because that definitely helped me out a lot. And I say I might have been better off doing the skills training more than the weight training, but for all I know, I could have gotten seriously hurt if I wasn't prioritizing weight training, because I was pretty small when I was playing college football. So maybe it was a good thing that I was spending as much time as I did in the weight room. But yeah, overall, Westside Barbell and Louis Simmons made a very positive impact on my football career, and I'm very, very grateful for the tips it gave me. But these are just some tiny differences that I maybe would have made when training. So overall, I'd say Westside Barbell definitely does work for getting better at football, but I'll just keep in mind that weight training is supplemental to your football training. The main thing to do if you're a skill player when you have free time to train is your 1-on-1s, your 7-on-7s, your drills for whatever position you play, and your overall football IQ I think is best to prioritize. But yeah, this is just my opinion and what I would have done slightly different. I hope this gives you insight if you're a football player thinking about using the Westside Barbell training methods. But thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.